Hey y'all, Austin here with Outer World Media. Welcome back to another book review. This time we are talking Louis L'Amour. We are talking about The Man Called Noon. So if you watched my little quick video that I posted this last week, I finished the Western Star, sorry, Depth of Winter, not the Western Star. I finished Depth of Winter a little earlier in the week, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna pick up a couple smaller westerns, try to get through those before the start of the new month, and I did finish them. So I'm gonna do those reviews now. I will say, it didn't take me long to read this at all. As it probably would be expected, it really shouldn't have. I mean, it's a Louis L'Amour, but let's get into it. What is The Man Called Noon about? Kind of getting to read the back of the blurb here for you. The Man Called Noon. There was gold buried somewhere in the Davidge spread. No one knew where for sure, but a whole lot of people were ready to kill for it. Peg Colane was as cold as a Texas blizzard. She wanted the gold, and she didn't care what her hired guns had to do to get it. Judge Nyland was a greedy double dealer. He had plenty of money. He knew how to get it and how to keep it, but he wanted more. All Fan Davidge wanted was her ranch back, and Rubble Noon vowed she'd have it, the ranch and the gold, or he'd die trying. So, kind of getting into this, obviously the back blurb gives you a pretty good idea about this book. So, to start off and kind of paint the picture of what this book is about. So, this book opens up with a guy. We're not exactly sure who he is. He's not exactly sure who he is himself. Starts off on the street. He's trying to evade some people who are trying to, as we find out, kill him and whatnot. He makes his way over to a train station where he kind of runs into this, I don't want to say bum, but just kind of this train jumper. This guy just travels from place to place and whatnot. He knows the little ins and outs and whatnot. And so he kind of strikes up a friendship with this guy. It ends up picking up with this other group and this guy that he met who are going out to this ranch. And the entire time, they're telling him, you shouldn't come, you shouldn't come. He's like, well, what else do I have to do? I don't know who I am. I don't know anything. Like, he has amnesia, memory loss. Didn't know. He's like, so what else do I have to lose? And so that's where, he intertwines with the beginning of the story. And so most of this, the back of the blurb said, is them trying to defend a ranch, but also find this gold that's supposedly hidden somewhere. And so this gentleman, Rubble Noon, he can't trust anybody. He's trying to put the pieces together to figure out who he is. Sorry if you hear that in the background, that's my dog. But he's trying to put together, who he is, what he's doing, who he knows, who he can trust, and whatnot. So there's a huge mystery aspect to this book. It's kind of like a spy novel. As what I feel like, because again, he's trying to figure out, what's the mission, like what is he doing, and so he actually in this book goes quite a few different places. I mean, it doesn't take place in just one little town. I mean, he goes to El Paso, he goes to this ranch. We're in the mountains. There's so much that takes place in this book. And this book, to tell you guys, is 184 pages. And I've said it before, and I'll always probably say it. Louis L'Amour fits so much into such a small, little, short book, and it amazes me every time. Now, getting into the good, the bad, and the ugly, what did I like about this book? Well, to be honest with you guys, I really thoroughly enjoyed this book. This was everything to be honest with you guys, and I know it's probably going to be a little bit of a dig at the book, and I don't mean for it to sound like it, but this kind of feels like the opening of The Bourne Identity. It's kind of what the vibe I got from this was. Again, because this guy doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know why he's there, where he came from, who his friends, his enemies. He doesn't know anything. All he knows is like up to 5 minutes before he fell out of this building, the second story building. And so again, a lot of this book, he's like, am I this person? Am I this person? Or am I these two people that are actually this one person? Am I a good guy? Am I a bad guy? He dances around the idea, and he's trying to figure out himself. And I really enjoyed that aspect, just because they were like, well, if you're this person, he goes, well, if I was that person, then I'm not going to do that now. Like, that's not who I subconsciously am now. This was a really fun read. Some other things that I really, really enjoyed about this book, like I was saying, he's all over the place with this book, and not when writing, but with, you know, as far as locations. He goes to El Paso. He goes to this, town that he originally comes from. He goes to this ranch. There's secret parts of this ranch. There's like a giant tree house in this book. I mean, he goes in these caves where these indigenous tribes lived before. I think it was the Aztecs, I think, who built on the cliffs and whatnot. Like, there's so much built into this book. um you know and he talks about finding these like adobe huts that previous indigenous people, Indians, lived in and whatnot. And it was awesome. It really was. There, it was kind of like a little bit of the Indiana Jones vibe thrown in there because of where we were going, and nobody knew about this and whatnot. Another good thing about this book, there is quite a bit of action in this book. Uh, Really quite a bit of action in this book. So I really enjoyed it. Another, advantage for this book, it's really cool, is the cover here. Kind of getting into the bad. I don't really have a whole lot really bad for this book to say. I mean, I can't think of anything, to be honest with you guys. Again, it's a Louis L'Amour book. I always enjoy these. Even nitpick stuff, I really don't have anything nitpick wise to kind of throw out there, just because how much I enjoyed it. Um, I would definitely give this a 4 out of 5 in rankings. But yeah, you guys should definitely check this book out, look it up. I think you guys will really enjoy this one. But yeah, guys, that is my review for The Man Called Noon by Louis L'Amour. Pretty great action-packed western, with some other stuff thrown in there and whatnot. So y'all have a good one.